Good evening, all. So we'll be starting in another 2 minutes. So I request if any of your colleagues are outside, you can please invite them to attend the final session. So basically, in this session, we will be having a discussion about the first, like the vertical sector breakouts which we had today, the 4 breakouts, that is transportation, healthcare, environment, and disaster. उसमें जो भी discussion हुआ है, so we would like to come to a conclusion or some major points जो आपके discuss हुए हों, or maybe the points which you would like to discuss tomorrow. If you have some agenda or something which you would like to discuss tomorrow and before you conclude, so those we can highlight today so that other participants can think over it tonight, and we can get the inputs for tomorrow. So this is the main objective of this session. And the other participants, if there is some point which you think that has not been covered by the representative of that group, can intervene and at that point. And also I would like to thank you all for the active participation, and the zeal and enthusiasm with which you have participated in all the breakouts has been amazing. And we look forward to more such discussions and in tomorrow and in the upcoming networking events. So
how we had structured, sorry, I'll just take a step back. So how we have structured the session was that we said that let's spend some time aligning or putting our arms together on the use case or sub-use case slash initiatives that we're talking about. Then what we said that for day one today, the next topic would be on the data and the intricacies and nitty-gritties about the data. What kind of a data do we need? Can we really get this kind of a data? Are there privacy issues? Are there any other concerns, etc. on that one? That was the primary agenda for day one. For tomorrow, what we plan to do is that once we have aligned on the data and the use case, we plan to see how we can make it happen. What kind of a algorithms, support, etc. needed there, what kind of a proof of concept we can actually do to demonstrate a value, and so on and so forth. So that's how we have split the agenda into these 2 days on that. Now coming to today's, just to summarize what we have achieved. Initially we started with a bit, I would say, multiple use cases or multiple ideas coming out all over the place. But a good part about, and kudos to the team on that, was that we were able to finally synthesize as one big use case or sub-use case that we are talking about. And that use case was reducing traffic congestion in a city by leveraging digital twin, which can include multimodal transportation, intelligent traffic operations, or for that matter, any other support that was needed there, but out and out driven by digital twin. The whole point here is that we even discussed that, okay, should we do bus optimization? Should we just do metro planning? But I think the functional or the domain experts brought us back on track, saying that it's a larger jigsaw puzzle. If we just solve for one, it doesn't necessarily solve for other. All these are interlinked there. So don't just assume just by you are able to solve a bus network optimization for Mumbai West, you are able to do that. You have to look through the metro part as well. You have to look through the pedestrian parts as well, and so on and so forth. Even in terms of the new areas of city planning, we discussed it on that, but I think eventually it boils down to this use case only, which is reducing traffic congestion using digital twin, which can leverage multi-mode transportation, last mile, and intelligent traffic management. We then switched gears to that, how can we make it happen? The data part, which was part of the agenda. And I think overall, it was a fairly positive, I would say, mood in the room, where people were quite supportive that yes, whatever data we are talking about is available and can be used. And one big thanks to, of course, the 3 telcos which were present. One was, of course, Airtel, the other was Jio and BSNL. Because the biggest chunk that was coming out from this use case was actually the OD matrix. And given the depth quality of OD matrix that the telcos can provide, any survey cannot even reach to that particular point. So OD metrics and the support from telco that yes, given that it is extremely anonymized, nothing to do with PII, no major concerns, or in fact, major is also an exaggeration, no concern was raised in the room as far as OD matrix was concerned, right? So that was a very big data source or data unlock for this particular use case. The other parts which were discussed was on the 3D or 3D data as well as the GIS data. Again, back and forth it was there. Can we get live feeds, especially if we are talking about, let's say, intelligent traffic, that if there is an accident, can we have a live feed so that we can divert the traffic and so on and so forth? Fair call. I mean, good points on that. Furthermore, video analytics, LiDAR, these, again, few points came into the picture because you need to know that, okay, you cannot have a 40 speed of a 40 on this particular road because it's full of potholes. So those nuance nitty-gritties were able to come out on these discussions there. Then comes in that, okay, we got a OD matrix, but is there a way to validate that as well? Interestingly, yes, other data sources, if again in an anonymized way, if we can get it, let's say an Ola, Uber, let's say FASTag, let's say further validations from, let's say, satellite data if required, because these are all costly affairs on that. Then few other things that came out, that special events, for example, there's an IPL match, there is a Diwali, there's a Eid, all these festivals comes in and it puts up a load or have some different load on the infrastructure coming on there. So let's say Book My Show. Can we go to Book My Show and get some more data? There was an IPL match or there was a concert on that. that would also give us those extra information so that we can do a better job in the modeling. And last but not the least, some fringe data as well. For example, airport authority, very fringe use case that not everybody landing would have its international mobile, international roaming on. So very fringe use case, but an important point, good point. Weather data and some other information from PWD. So broadly, if we have this data collage that we are talking about, a good use case can be delivered as a POC for any particular city that we end up choosing. As I said, tomorrow we'll work on how do we make it happen, what's an impact, what kind of a POC outcome we are looking for. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have a slightly more evolved and a mature culmination to this use case. Sorry. So we didn't touch the architecture part yet, right? So this is something which we'll briefly touch, that what kind of an architecture we are looking for. And again, given that it is coming, and the reason why we again started that a use case, and then you start with the data stack, and then the algorithm and visualization, and then the POC. That's how we are thinking through that. So, but hopefully we'll talk tomorrow what kind of an architecture we are looking for, and some learnings from, of course, from today's session on federated architecture and federated data models that we're talking about today. Yeah.
There are some discussions in the horizontal layer as well. When are we planning to integrate the vertical discussions and the horizontal discussions?
I think we have the horizontal moderation tomorrow. So maybe I think that's where all of us should attend that as well, so that we remain contextual that what was discussed there and can apply it immediately in our sessions. Something else, yeah.
I think horizontal use case should reach to certain maturity level, then only they will be able to answer their questions. So once a discussion is over, then we can plan discussions between different vertical and horizontals, between Delhi network event and a Mumbai network event. I think within these 2 days, it won't be possible to hold such meetings, but afterwards we can do. I think it's a good progress. We expect that this will be one of the most important use case which will emerge. Thank you. Thank you.
And when
much.
we pitch to Shark tomorrow,
yeah.
we hope to get a funding for this POC. Yeah.
Next.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Next is enhancing healthcare sector. So I request Jitan and Dr. Manoj Pandey and Rakesh Tiwari, sir. He's not. Okay.
Clearly, I think as a use case was focused on healthcare, we took a pretty consistent approach to, I think, what Rajat actually spoke about. But we spent the first 15 minutes trying to understand who everybody in the team actually was, what skill sets they actually came in. It was a pretty interesting mix. We had people from GIS who actually had worked at healthcare use cases. The guys from Katina who also are doing the privacy enhancing techniques. We had somebody from Trident who actually also had experience working on the Arogya Setu app. So very much understanding of how the COVID and how government is handling data. And the team from CCAD also who actually had worked with certain universities on running analytics on healthcare data. So a very good start in terms of what people had experience and what was being done, which brought up questions like, how do you guys do it? The idea that if CCAD actually had somebody, I think it was a specific use case about facial restructuring. Who did you get consent from? How is it actually done? How is it actually being used? Data, who's controlling the data? What are the control mechanisms around it? We spoke about, and I think the idea was to get everybody in the room on the same page as to what we are trying to achieve. We also got some information about what was being done by Trident in terms of working with Arogya Setu, what's actually happening to the whole entire website, how the government is controlling data. So that's what we spent. Then, do you want to talk about the different?
Yeah, thank you very much. And we spoke about, in fact, this one is a very wide field when we have a lot of ideas that was emerging into. And our main focus was to just consolidate all the ideas which was scattering around the healthcare use cases. And the prime focus was the use case which was being forwarded by the DO, Department of Telecommunication, and we tried to, because there are many cases when and many permutation combination was coming up when from where the data will come, and sometimes there are a lot of verticals that was colliding into because some of the answers we do not have, like from where the statutory things will come, from where the guidelines will be there. So idea for this use case was, the first is, let us converge the idea first and let us come to one consensus of what use case we should take forward, because this is the area where we have a huge possibilities rather. And keeping all these in mind, we had taken up all the details from all the participants in this use case, and some of the ideas was really wonderful, which really moves around the theme and the topic of this use case, and we are working on into it. And of course, when he asked about the architecture, because that's what in fact our challenge when we were talking. In fact, he wanted to check about either what was the status of other groups. So, so that was the main challenge right now, and we will be working on that tonight. And by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, we will be come into some of the consensus ideas about the architecture and how the data will move around, and what way we will get all the, this sector is very vast and a lot of stakeholders are there. The data is coming from various locations, various places. So how to collate that, how to get into it. So we have discussed all, and all the 8 questions that has come around that we had discussed into. So by tomorrow evening it will come up into.
Actually, I came late. I think everything has been covered. So all the points have been discussed with pertaining to data, privacy, and the discussion was very broader today. Tomorrow we'll try to narrow it down and revolve around some specific use case, so that we can come out with some solution with respect to architecture and other things. So that is the basic plan. Thanks.
My point is related to the data. In many other sessions also it was being debated that from where data will come, who will provide it. That is an important question, but that is not that critical at this stage. We should assume that data will come. If we can demonstrate the value, then 100% data will come. And if the data contributor is incentivized, data will come. So only 3 things we have to keep in mind: that whatever we are doing, we are able to create value out of that. Second is that we are able to address the concerns of the data contributor. And third is that we can incentivize the data contributor. If we can meet these 3 things, we can reasonably assume that data will come. There is, I don't see that there is any reason that data will not come. It will come. So, and now we should start working on listing down the probable data providers. And we should also try to capture what is the kind of the data, what kind of information it will provide. If experts are there who have worked there, or people have connect with the right organizations, if we can capture that, and that is mentioned as a part of the input document, a template, in the annexure, that schema you can capture the list of probable data providers, it will help. So, so you can reasonably assume that whatever you wish, that data will come. But you should be able to demonstrate that these 3 things, what we have mentioned, will be met. Yeah, that is important. Yeah. And next is that when we are tomorrow in the closing plenary, Secretary Sir will be joining, and it is expected that every moderator or a chair will present tomorrow for 5 minutes and around 2 slides. I think 2 slides are more than enough to speak for 5 minutes. But we should be able to tell a particular use case and the potential of that use case. We should not talk other things, that this is the particular use case and it has the potential to revolutionize the infrastructure planning. For example, in case of the health, we should give a one line that this we are going to do. It seems feasible at this stage because we are assuming that data will come, and what change it will bring in the country, what we are seeing. So potential, we should be able to speak on those lines in the tomorrow's closing plenary. That it works.
Like sir has pointed out, that we should assume that data will come. So there, while we were discussing, there is one point that came, that one thing is that we know where is the data and which kind data is available. And another thing is that we want some kind of data which may not be available. So or we don't know whether it is available or not. So that scenario is also possible. When we were discussing our use case, yes.
So one is that data is available, but data is not accessible. Other is that data is not available, but it can be generated. So we can classify like that. So what we are mentioning, and then you are looking for that data, but you don't know from where it will come. But if data is not available and there is no entity, it's quite likely that that won't be available until and unless we figure out that who will provide it.
Also, there, if we incentivize, there is a possibility, like for example, telcos do not store a lot of data at this point of time, but that data is being generated. But that can, if there is value, it can be stored in the future.
So I think there's a part in the questions regarding funding and customers. So we've actually focused on that too. That if you actually create this solution, is there going to be beneficial, which is non-healthcare? So I think in our case, it came out that tomorrow, if there is a healthcare solution which basically tells you about for surgical training or for improving people's health, would Zomato like it? And the answer is yes. So Zomato is not healthcare. It's a complete outlier for their particular industry. So that would be a place where you could actually get data. They would provide us data as well as they would possibly consumers also of it. So I think that's how we also think it's thinking from a funding standpoint as well as how we can grow the solution.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I request Somarja, Dhirendra and Saurabh to come in the floor.
Hello. Hi everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. So we started our discussion with the introduction round, where we tried to understand the competency we have in the team, and I must say that our team has a wide range of expertise, from GIS to simulation to computation and so on. And then we moved to a 5 minutes presentation, where we tried to focus on the holistic approach, like how we should go for this digital twin, and we discussed about the environment use case. And then we opened up the discussion. So initially we were skeptical about the use case, like which one we should pick. So we were thinking initially we was thinking to pick the water distribution, and then we took up the air quality index, and our focus was to leverage telco data, and in that way we developed our framework. So we highlighted on 8 core points which came out from the previous discussions we had with DOT. So one is, creating a national code digital twin. Then how to leverage the telco data. Then the solution should be existing solution agnostic. Then design thinking should be a key parameter, and so on. So today we discuss all the use case and what would be the data sources, and we discussed on the feasibility part as well. Tomorrow we'll take up the next step. So we will try to have a tentative infrastructure, and even the privacy part would be important. So we will understand the horizontal use cases as well, because those are basically cutting across. And tomorrow we'll try to finalize the first cut document for this use case. Thank you.
So, well, basically the use case which we majorly discussed was, air quality and their relation with respect to traffic congestions, and how whether there are possible ways of reducing it. So in that way, I feel like most likely tomorrow an architecture with respect to traffic, air quality, and other mainly the geographical location which were also being discussed. What would be the probable location where we can implement this proof of concept? So most likely tomorrow we'll get a consensus on that. And the second PET session was really insightful for us. Now we know how to manage the next session, and we know how to deal with the data as well. So that is second session was very informative, and hopefully we will come up with some practically feasible use case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we didn't have any telco here.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we have. So we want to discuss about the feasibility part, because we are relying on the telco data.
So you can discuss with telcos. We will try that at least one of the telco is present during your discussion. But tomorrow, 2-slide presentation should be ready for the closing plenary. And when you are presenting the use case, we should make it clear that how it fits with the digital twin. Means something can be done with the app also, or some application kind of a system. That what you are proposing that is related to the digital twin. AI component, what is the AI component in it? What is the telecom's role in that? And it should clearly emerge out of that, and how potentially it will be transforming or revolutionizing planning or designing of the infrastructure. So those points should be clear when we are presenting tomorrow during closing plenary, I think. Yeah. So just my point is that means you have a very limited time, and the expectation will be that what use case we are mentioning. So it is related to the digital twin, it is related to the AI, and it is related to the telecom data, and it is related to the planning and designing of the infrastructure. So these are the areas how we can convey when we are making a presentation. Okay, I think it is a good progress. Thank you for your question.
Beyond telco data, can we also look at data coming from, let's say, smart city projects which are monitoring multiple elements, or maybe some other CPCB data, merging all of that and creating this beyond telco, because we focused specifically on what we can get from telcos.
So we are not limiting. Telco data is means one of the source, but we are not limiting only to the telco data. Yeah. In many cases, it may happen that other functionalities are there, like privacy enhancing technology, where telco network is being used because they can compute at the edge, or they can be useful for delivering the digital twin because they are working as a delivery network. So how they are helping for delivery of the digital twin, and telcos can also help in providing augmented reality and the virtual reality. So telco has multiple roles. So data is only one part of that.
Sir, I request if not for the entire session, if 15 minutes of from any telecom provider, with the data kind of data which we get, that will enhance our.
So you want to know that what kind of data telco has. So we will request, but we have to figure out that whether any time window is available for that. So we will try, but yeah, we will try.
It can happen like in your session only, like whenever telco joins you, you can brainstorm and they can give their inputs there. If that is okay. Thank you. Next is disaster. Next use case is disaster. So I request Mr. Narendra Mohan and Dr. Anirudh Roy and to please come up on the stage for the. He's on.
Thank you all for the participations, even the people who participate for the early warning system. That was quite wonderful. So we have analyzed few points while participating right here. There was audience who participated. There was GSI, the system integrator. As well, if I can talk about some of like hardware provider, as well AR and VR experts and simulations expert. So disaster and early warning system point of view, HCL software, where I'm presenting, we're gonna provide the platform to them, so GSI can come together and they can play their part. So where we have previously we have experience with the UP government, where we have developed the early warning system. Even we are developing phase. So where we have even find out there is in our problem areas and we got failed, and we have developed certain model which going to be into the real-time environment. So using that, we have identified the data sources, which is meteorological data, earth observations data, hydrological and seismic and public health. Possibly we're gonna get access of that data from DOT teams as well, the people who participating. So we can create a unified model using certain of the platform, which is data platform, even the AI1 models or AI1 platform, and the front-ending kind of BI analytics things. So tomorrow onwards, we're gonna consider the technical architect of the entire early warning system, like how that early warning system will perform and how that early warning system will add value to the government, so that initiative will be taken care of. If I can talk about for UP case, in UP that early warning system creates, because there was budget allocated by the government, which is more beyond of 100 crore. There was no recce on that budget, like nobody able to track like where that money is going and what kind of money distributions happens. So we have created certain models using the AI1, which is detecting frauds and detecting the people who are basically been through the disaster and all these things. So tomorrow onwards, our agenda would be the technical architect.
Thank you. So I joined as a domain expert for the disaster part. So primarily from that aspect, what we discussed firstly amongst all the people who have joined the event is to understand the root cause of the disaster. And we found that there are so many. There are natural disasters, there are accidental disasters, and there are intentional attacks. Natural disaster, by and large, the fire part only comes in the forest. So we are left out with two things. Number one is on the accidental disaster or a man-made disasters, and also the intentional threats, which is like bomb blast and things like that, which may eventually cause fire. As per the guidelines of the DOT, because there are so many disasters which are there, defined by NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, and the focus was there to stick, at least for the Delhi event, the fire part of it. So as far as the fire is concerned, the group by and large discussed the causative factor of the fires. And we came to a conclusion that the main cause is either it is coming out from the kitchen, or it is because of some electrical short circuit, and it comes to the industry. These are the residential part. If it comes to the industry, we do have the indoor part, lot of combustible substances are there, electrical short circuit. So we have classified residential as a dwelling unit, single unit, multi-storied. This is one part of this thing. Within that residential, there will be some hutments also, which are more inflammable in nature. And then comes the industry part. Thereafter, once we classified, we actually collaborated and discussed amongst all of us what is the practical experience by the participants they do have on this specific incident of fire, how we can jumpstart the project and sharing their experiences. We are very delighted to share. Within the group, we found data providers. We found there are people who are having the platforms, people who are ready to give the hardware and the software part as well. And there are metaverse, there are beam modelers who are also present. So we found the complete stack is represented in some form or the other, including the IML practices. So what we decided? We felt, let us find the first part, which is the foundational data, which is layer 1 as per the Digital Twin Sangam initiative. So that document talks about the foundation layer, which is the GIS. Now, when we talk about digital twin, primarily we are talking about 2D, and then that getting into the reality model of 3D. Within 3D, it is not only restricted to the buildings. We are also talking about the fences. So there are two parts to it. Disaster is a very large term. We are talking about emergency here. So emergency is little shorter term. Response time is also shorter, and the duration longs mostly for few hours to few days. Whereas when you take disaster, typically, as per the definition of Ministry of Home Affairs, disaster is something untoward event or an accident or an event which the community cannot cope up amongst themselves. Otherwise, we normally call it accident. So keeping a very generic view that fire is an accident, there are first responders. So how can we plan ourselves better? This is one part of it. Planning and mitigation. Second is that if the event happened, how the response system can be improved upon, which is not there presently. So the objective is that what are the factors which are happening currently, and the system is working in certain fashion. What is that extra delta thing, or maybe a big giant leap that we can bring in together as a different participant from the group? So we realized that we divided into two sections. One is actually the planning, second is actually the response. Let me tell you the response part. So whenever the incident happens, typically somebody calls up and the fire brigade comes. We found one of the very important factors, which is the congestion in the road, how fast it can reach, but more importantly, the width of the road. Different fire tenders do have different sizes, and that is the element which is currently not taken into being, whether you use Google Maps or you use otherwise. We realized and we felt it is very important for us that we'll piggyback on the transport and traffic group for rest of the things that they are doing, and we do not have to think much on that. And as it evolves, we can just put that as a part of our practice. Regarding the sensors, so geometric part we found, one size will not fit all. If you are talking about a specific building, then we are talking about details up to a BIM level if it is required and if it is a critical infrastructure. If we are talking about the normal city-centric activity, we again realized boundary of the file service, because like for example, Delhi you have got 5 fire zones. And typically when anybody calls, only that fire zone within that cluster, they will respond. But it may so happen that just outside the boundary, there may be a fire station. Response time can be shorter. These are the kind of thought process we thought if we can bring in on the fly. And that is where the role of telco will play very important. Because they will tell to reach that spot at this point of time, other than the cap generators or the Google data or many other TomTom data, if we can get a real-time data that can augment. We also found there are a lot of platforms which are available. Like from ACL, there is a ready-made platform. So tomorrow what we felt that those who have got demonstratable affair, they should be in a position to quickly demonstrate to get a glimpse of what is the preparedness. And within that fire thing, 2 to 3 scenarios will be bringing out. We created a WhatsApp group within the group, and then everybody is expected to contribute whatever the inputs. We could not able to take much of the minutes because we are engrossed in the discussion. And everybody contributed, in fact, everybody consented. They'll be providing it by tonight, all the inputs which are there. So this is a by and large in short. Not short or long, whatever.
Thank you. Thank you very much for briefing. I have 2-3 points. First is that you have correctly mentioned that this is not disaster, this is an incident, whatever is mentioned in the use case. And the purpose of use case was that how to leverage telecom and how digital twin helps in coordination between multiple agencies. When we are discussing as a moderator, my request is that we are having 2 heads. One is that from the company from where we are joining, and the one is the moderator part. But I have found in this particular that sometimes we are emphasizing our company's products. I will request that we should not, we are here not to promote the company's product. We are here to come up or devise a solution which is good for the society. And if company product fits in that, it will be automatically taken care at the right time. So we should focus more on the use case. We should evolve that use case. That is important. And second is that when we are defining use case, we should highlight that there is something related to the digital twin. How digital twin is helping in this. Otherwise, it is already being done. And what is the cross-sectoral part in it? Otherwise, that sector will take care. There is no role of Sangam. People are doing it, people will do. They are devoted for this. So what is cross-sectoral part in this that we should highlight? And as far as telecom is concerned, means where we are leveraging, because we are from telco side, so we should try our best that how telco capabilities, how telco data can be leveraged. It is not necessary that in every use case telco data will be useful, but it is important that how we can leverage. So in use case, it was mentioned that what is the advantage of telco capabilities. We can also consider some of the other use cases which are related to disaster or incidences. For example, when tsunami came in the Japan in 2011, a road network was broken, and it was how they discovered that what is the residual road network. So normally you have a road network. In normal days, road network is there, signages are there, route plan is there. But when there is a disaster, automatically you have a residual network and you have to quickly come up with a new plan. So how you can discover that? And they discovered using connected car data. Honda was the first company who could tell that what is the residual network from their data. So there is a role of the some data providers for disaster management or disaster-like situations. There is a role that how agencies can coordinate in a smarter way. So the use case we have mentioned, that how agencies can understand the context quickly, how they can coordinate with a new plan which is fit for that context, and how they can execute it. So that was the purpose. So we can extend it, we can modify it to make it more fit, but we should focus on the use case and elaborate it. Otherwise, we are happy that we could come up with a use case where, or you can discuss that where all relevant component means all participants were there who can provide the relevant components. That is good. So thank you very much for the
So 2 hours plus 2 hours, total 4 hours. That is what we have been discussing. Subject is very vast, and we felt, based on our experience with the discussion with the Ministry of Housing Affairs, specifically in the context of smart city, also with respect to NDMA, their needs. Fire is definitely, which is very critical. It's a burning topic. But more or less, we will be in a position to provide by tomorrow the use case by co-creating the value, and maybe some paper can also be provided. This is one part. As a suggestion, maybe the next event that we take in Mumbai, another aspect which is coming up because of the extreme climatic conditions these days is the urban flood. So maybe we can dwell upon in the next session, and this is just a suggestion, the urban deluge part of it, which digital twin, not necessarily it is only the buildings and the trees in 3D, but also the terrain, how it behaves, what is the digital elevation model of a terrain. And fact is that today in the country, we do have a vertical accuracy of 7 to 9 feet. That is what the current modelers are working. So you have got the hardware, you have got the software, you have got the cloud storage, you have got the best of the practitioners' skill set, but the terrain model is not very coarse. So that's why it is very important that what is that difference that terrain can bring in terms of, so digital twin is not the surface model, but also the terrain model. Similarly, maybe in the further session, we can look after the hilly states where there is a landslides. 2 or 3 states are facing. These are just the suggestions, but I think the components as per your 5-layer component of which is the foundation layer, and then you have got the built-up environment and the AR, VR. I think everything will gel on that. Any questions?
Thank you. Yes, please.
Immersive experiences, or we can also explore 2D visualizations or dashboards for digital twin, or we should just limit ourselves to immersive experiences?
No, I mean there is nothing mandatory. It matters that whether it is adding value or not. The purpose is that means what value it is adding. It is bringing effectiveness or what it is doing. The only purpose, one of the important purpose is that with the immersive or that technology is that you can do scenario planning in a collaborative manner. Means even in case of fire, what is the plan? If multiple agencies want to experiment in a virtual world, how they can do? Means how they can simulate a building or simulate a fire and simulate a scenario. And they can coordinate and they can see that it is effective or not, where it is lacking. And you can also engage the public when they are creating these scenarios. So when you are doing scenario planning and you are preparing yourself to deal with a particular kind of a situation, that helps. That immersive experience helps. Otherwise, that is a data. And even experts can deal with that 2T kind of a data with their experience. But when you want to do some collaborative stuff, you want to engage, you want to do scenario planning, that helps. Pardon?
Should we limit ourselves to immersive experiences?
No, purpose, I think it is a use case specific and what value it is adding. That will help you to take the decision. Isn't it?
So, in my opinion, and this is a consensus building activity, we are talking about the real world. And real world is by and large represented in 3D. The fact is that when we got deep into this simulation of the traffic and transport as a separate activity, nothing related to this group, majority of the softwares are only operating in the 2D environment. And we realized that if we bring and provide a 3D data to the experts, what are the changes which are expected? Some of them rejected that it is hardly going to make any difference. But within this campus, when we spoke to the professors and we have provided the data, they told it is of immense value. Because those elements were never ever thought of. Because typically in any software, you get the inputs, you process it, you get the outputs, you are happy with it. But here is a new come that we do have a 3D data of the road section where there is a divider in between, median. Now, imagine a scenario that you are going in the night and there is a specific height of a divider, and most of the highways you would have also seen, there are plantations and the vegetation on top of it. Those who are using a dipper, a light, it actually gives a lot of hassles on top of the driver which is coming on the opposite direction. What should be the optimum height of that divider? And what should be the line of sight with a full-fledged lorry or the truck which is coming? These are never ever written in any book. This only comes when you have got this kind of platform and you have to think on those eyes. So like that, actually it creates a lot of curiosity. So we feel it will ignite a lot of thoughts, innovation, and even a small divider, somebody will take a U-turn. But if the height is there, they may find it difficult to violate that. So these are small little things, but can add a bigger thing in order to avoid the risk of the accident. So in my opinion, 2D definitely plays a very, very important role. Dashboard has got an important role, but over and above, the components where it can get a value out of 3D, we must incorporate it, and then if we can have a collaborative environment in the immersive section, we must adopt and embrace that.
Thank you. Any other question? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will meet tomorrow at 9:30. 9 o'clock.